What if Anakin declined his seat on the Jedi Council? How would the Council react? What would Palpatine do? Would Padme support him? Let's start the story in the Council chambers. Anakin is standing in the center of the chamber as Master Windu bellows, "You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master." Anakin's eyes instantly went wide. What did the Master say? Anakin couldn't believe it. He was furious. How could a Jedi be on the Grand Council and not be a Master? This was important to Anakin. The main reason he wanted to be on the Council was so that he could be a Master, and through this, would have access to the Jedi Archive's restricted section, where he could search for the Force powers to save Padme from his nightmares. If he couldn't do this, being on the Council meant nothing to him. He told the Council that this was outrageous and unfair. How could someone be on the Council and not be a Master? But Windu looked at Anakin sternly and told him to take a seat. However, Anakin remained tall and declared he would not. He told them that what the Council has done here today is an insult to the Force. For far too long, the Council has been unappreciative of his talents in the Force and efforts in the Clone War. They wouldn't be winning the damn war if it wasn't for him, and declared the Council is not worthy of him being a member, and refuses his appointment on the Jedi Council. Anakin turns and storms out, furious, as Obi-Wan stands to go follow, but Windu tells him to let Skywalker go, and sulk once again like he always does. Anakin's tantrum reaffirmed to the Council that they believed Anakin was too arrogant and far too immature for any position of responsibility in the Jedi Order. He may have achieved success in the Clone War, but not as a Jedi. For a Jedi there is no emotion, there is peace, and Anakin was far from it. He was too passionate, arrogant, and far from the serenity and harmony that any Jedi Master hoped to achieve. However, Palpatine's plan succeeded better than he could have expected. He decided to put Anakin on the Council, knowing they wouldn't make him a Master, the rank he wanted and believed he deserved, and in turn would put him at odds with the Jedi Council. Not only had they refused Anakin the rank of Master, but he'd had a complete outburst as a result, and instead of the Jedi trusting and putting their faith in him, this pushed him away, right where Palpatine wanted. The Sith Lord had two goals: to turn Anakin against the Jedi, to make him believe they were hiding secrets of the Force from him, and were in fact scared of him and his power, and secondly, to manipulate Anakin into believing he was the only one who could save Padme from his nightmares. But there was one more part of the puzzle: his wife, Padme. Even if Anakin joined his side, he would still be tied to Padme. He believed he could effectively manipulate Anakin against Obi-Wan, but Padme would be more difficult. Anakin would be turning to the dark side to save Padme, and thus wouldn't be likely to turn on her in the end. But the last thing he wanted was the Empire to himself, Darth Vader by his side, but also Padme and their child alive, a tether to the light side for Darth Vader. But Palpatine believes he has a plan, a way to turn Anakin Skywalker against Padme, to make Anakin believe Padme has turned against him. He saw what had happened during the ordeal with Rush Clovis, how emotional Anakin got, and could not wait to see how he would react when Palpatine planted the seeds that Padme was cheating with his best friend, Obi-Wan. After Anakin refused the Council, he went straight to Palpatine and told him what happened. Palpatine feeds into Anakin's emotions, his anger and also fear, telling Anakin that the Jedi are afraid of him. They fear his power and know he has the potential to be the strongest of all the Jedi. But they will never let him get that strong, because they can't control him if he does. Palpatine was surprised how easy it was to turn Anakin against the Jedi, and fed on his ego. But now is where Palpatine began planting the real seeds of his manipulation. Reports come in that Grievous is on Utapau and tells Anakin he wishes he could send him, that he believes he's the only Jedi who could truly take out Grievous. But the Council has decided that Obi-Wan will go. Palpatine tells Anakin he should go home for the day. However, he would like Anakin to remain by his side in the next coming days, as he fears he will need his help. But Anakin tells Palpatine the Council will not allow it, but Palpatine tells him they won't have a choice. The Jedi serve the Republic and are under the jurisdiction of the Senate, and because he is the leader of the Senate, they will do what he says. The next day, Anakin went to the Chancellor's office, and after he left, Obi-Wan visited Padme at her home. They talked about Anakin, Obi-Wan warning her that Anakin is under a lot of stress and he's at odds with the Jedi and Council. The real reason Obi-Wan has come is because he fears Anakin will leave the Jedi Order. But the conversation between them turns, Obi-Wan telling Padme that he knows He has known about her and Anakin for a long time and tells her that she needs to help him. Anakin listens to her more than anyone, and she needs to ensure Anakin is okay, that he won't do anything he will regret, like leave the Jedi Order. He is needed more now than he ever will be. Padme agrees and tells Obi-Wan that she will try. Meanwhile, later that day, whilst Anakin was with Palpatine, Obi-Wan had left for Utapau, and Anakin told the Chancellor that very soon the war could be over. But Palpatine's face does not bear a look of hope as he tells Anakin that war with the Separatists might be over soon, but there is something more brewing. He looks at Anakin directly and tells him he believes the Jedi plan to use the end of the war to take over the Republic for themselves. Anakin couldn't believe it, and he told Palpatine the Jedi wouldn't do that, but the Chancellor tells Anakin to search his feelings, and he will know it to be true. Palpatine's allies have reported that the Jedi had been seen meeting with senators in secret, that this very morning, his friend Obi-Wan was seen leaving the residence of a senator's apartment in the early hours of the day. Anakin asks who, that they should question the senator immediately, but Palpatine tells him it's a she, and he knows her quite well. Anakin couldn't believe it. Obi-Wan had been in his home with Padme, conspiring against the Jedi. Anakin leaves shortly after and goes home, and Palpatine was right. He senses that Obi-Wan was here. He asks Padme if it's true, who tells Anakin Obi-Wan was here this morning, and they only talked about him. Obi-Wan told her that Anakin's been under a lot of stress, especially after what happened with the Council, but Anakin can sense something is wrong. Padme is hiding something from him. It is in fact that Obi-Wan had revealed to Padme that he knew about her and Anakin's relationship, but Padme didn't want to tell Anakin this to stress him out even more. But in fact, Anakin thought Padme was hiding the fact that she and Obi-Wan were scheming behind his back. In the afternoon, Anakin was back in Palpatine's office when Padme and the delegation of 2000 arrived, and they asked Palpatine to end the use of his emergency powers and return power to the Senate and courts, to halt the expansion of the war and begin peace talks with the Separatists. Palpatine tells them he is surprised and saddened they would come to him with this, and tells them that he will return all emergency power back to the Senate when the war is over. The delegation leaves, and Palpatine turns to Anakin, telling him that Senator Amidala is hiding something, that he can see it in her eyes. His allies have seen this delegation of 2000 meeting with Jedi, and believes they are conspiring together to take over the Senate. It makes sense. The Jedi couldn't take over without senatorial support. Anakin is already suspicious of Obi-Wan, firstly because he appears in his nightmares of Padme dying, and secondly, him meeting with Padme at his home. Could they really be conspiring against Palpatine together? Could they be going behind his back? Anakin is extremely conflicted. He's worried about his nightmares of Padme dying, but he's also concerned that the mother of his child is cheating on him and conspiring with his best friend. That night, Palpatine visits Anakin's home whilst he's sleeping to plant dreams in his head. This time, he plants the dreams of Padme and Obi-Wan together on the countryside of Naboo, raising Anakin's child whilst the Jedi are in control of the Republic and galaxy, and Anakin is nowhere to be seen. Anakin wakes with a startle and looks to his right, but Padme wasn't there, and he remembers she told him she was staying at the Senate Hotel because she was working late. But Anakin thought, is she working or is she conspiring? Anakin's dreams have never failed him before, and he thought the Force might be warning him of a possible future, pleading him to act to change it. He goes to Palpatine's office in a panic, and he tells the Chancellor that he's right, the Jedi are planning to take over. Anakin asks Palpatine how he knows this, and Anakin tells him he saw it, as clear as he could see Palpatine right now in his Force dreams. Palpatine tells Anakin he trusts in his power, and because of his dreams, he is now certain of the fact the Jedi plan to take over the Republic. Palpatine tells Anakin that the Jedi will corrupt the galaxy, as they have corrupted his wife, Padme. Anakin is confused. How does Palpatine know Padme is his wife? But Palpatine tells Anakin, does he really think anything happens on Coruscant without him knowing? He tells Skywalker he has known since he was a small boy, that he's loved Padme all his life. He puts his hand on Anakin's shoulder and tells him he wants to help him, but he's sorry. His wife has betrayed him. Not only is she in league with the Jedi, she's meeting in private with Master Kenobi, and that can only mean one thing. Anakin tells Palpatine to stop. He can't hear him say it. It's too painful. But Palpatine tells him he knows it's hard to hear, He too has been betrayed by the ones he loves and tells Anakin he is the only person he truly cares about. He sees Anakin as a son and states they must save the galaxy together and stop the Jedi from taking over. Anakin asks what will happen to Padme, and Palpatine tells him whatever he wants to do. Anakin will be the savior of the galaxy after he stops the Jedi, and he himself can decide what shall happen to the traitorous Senator Padme Amidala. That power will lie with him. Anakin asks Palpatine how they will stop the Jedi, and he tells Anakin by using his real power. He stops concealing his presence in the Force, and he tells Anakin his entire life he's concealed his true power in the Force, in the dark side, from the public eye, because he knew the Jedi would kill him for it. And for what? Being Force sensitive like them? The Jedi would execute him for absolutely no reason. But now, he and Anakin can save the galaxy together, and Palpatine can show him how, through using the true nature of the Force. Anakin tells Palpatine that he's always seen him as his true father, and declares that together they will save the galaxy. Palpatine stands, opens his comm station, and executes Order 66 and bathes in the death of the Jedi around the galaxy. He tells Anakin to go to the Jedi Temple to catch them off guard and stop them before they can implement their plan. Anakin goes to the Jedi Temple and begins executing Order 66. They break inside, and Anakin begins cutting down Jedi one after the other. He was ruthless and determined, taking out Shakti, Sindralig, and even the Jedi younglings. He showed no mercy, and his power in the dark side grew. Meanwhile, Palpatine went to the Senate and declared that the Jedi have conspired to take over the Senate, and they found proof of their treachery. But they did not do this alone. They worked alongside over 1,000 senators in this very chamber, and for their treachery against the Republic, they will face the same fate as the Jedi. The Coruscant Guard swarmed in and began arresting senators, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, Tir Tanil, Fang Zar, and with this, only those loyal to Palpatine remained. Palpatine declared that in the transitory period, to ensure stability in the galaxy, the Republic will be transformed into the First Galactic Empire. Cheers roared in the chamber, and Palpatine knew he had done it. He meets with Anakin shortly after, and congratulates him on his victory in the Jedi Temple. He has delved deep into the dark side, and will become extremely powerful in time. He tells Anakin that Padme is in captivity, but what happens to her is completely up to him. But Palpatine is secretly hopeful that Anakin will execute her after she gives birth for betraying him, especially now that the dark side whispers in his ear. But before Anakin could respond, he falls to the ground in a vision. Palpatine grabs Anakin and goes to his side, asking Skywalker what he's seen, and Anakin looks up at his master and tells him Obi-Wan and Yoda have returned. They are at the Jedi Temple, and the time for their revenge is now. Anakin and Palpatine go immediately to the Jedi Temple and bring a squadron of clones with them. They rush inside, attempting to catch Yoda and Obi-Wan off guard. They were deep in the temple, attempting to change the communication to the Jedi around the galaxy, as they both felt it, the dark side coming for them, and they knew it must be Sidious. At this point, they didn't know Sidious was Palpatine, although they suspected, but they definitely didn't know that Anakin had helped him. And it almost broke Obi-Wan when he saw Anakin by Sidious' side, blade ignited and eyes yellow. The fight began, and Obi-Wan attempted to speak reason into Anakin, but there was no turning back. Anakin and Palpatine were putting the Jedi on the back foot, going for the kill, but the Jedi were biding their time, getting ready for the counterattack. But right as they were going to, the clone squadron rushed in from behind and began firing at the Jedi. They had to defend against the Sith on one side and the clones on the other. Yoda attempted to make a jump for it, but Palpatine caught him with lightning, and his body was momentarily paralyzed, and he was hit with a bullet from the clones, ending his life. Obi-Wan rushed for the exit, but Anakin was in front of him. Palpatine watched as it happened, letting Anakin do it himself, as Skywalker slashed 3 times, making 3 fatal cuts to Obi-Wan's body. The life left his eyes. The last thing he saw was his fallen apprentice, consumed by the dark side. With this, Anakin's lightsaber began to change color, slowly from a sapphire blue to a deep crimson red. He had completed his transformation. Anakin had successfully finalized his revenge against his best friend who betrayed him, and the Grand Master of an Order who failed him. Palpatine declares to Anakin that they have done it, defended the galaxy against the Jedi, and taken power for themselves, so that they can mold the galaxy in the Empire's image. But Palpatine tells Anakin he has one more task for him, to go to Mustafar and hunt down the Separatist leaders, to end the war and take his place by his side as the Emperor's hand. Anakin completes his last task, cutting down the very last of the Separatists, Newt Gunray, leader of the Trade Federation. The galaxy was theirs. He made his way back to Coruscant to stand by Palpatine's side. He was strong with the dark side, and it began to speak to him. It whispered in his ear, "Palpatine is old and vulnerable. It could all be yours. The Empire, the galaxy. Seize power for yourself. It is your destiny." The dark side spoke persuasion into Anakin's mind, and in his youth, he let it convince him. He stormed off his ship when he returned to Coruscant, straight for Palpatine's office. He stands right in front of his master, declaring that the Separatists are dead. The war is over. Palpatine congratulates Anakin for his victory, stating that he's brought peace to the Empire. They stand in silence, but Palpatine senses it right as it happens. Anakin builds up the dark side within him and sends it soaring towards Palpatine in the form of Sith lightning. Palpatine reacts with his own, directly connecting with and blocking Anakin's. They were standing off. The boy was powerful. This is the first time he's used lightning, and it's exceptionally strong. If it connected with Palpatine's body, he would most certainly be destroyed, but he wasn't about to let that happen. Lightning was Palpatine's signature ability, and he knew it more intimately than any Sith Lord in history. He pressed forward, the dark side swelling inside of him, and he increased its output to overcome Anakin's lightning and sent him flying back against the distant wall. Anakin lay there, his body twitching, as Palpatine stood over him. He told the boy he was powerful. In time, Anakin's power will surpass his own, but that day is not today. Meanwhile, a day later, Padme gave birth in the solitude of her prison to her children Luke and Leia. She didn't know what had happened to Anakin, believing he may have suffered the same fate as the rest of the Jedi, but she knew her husband was stronger than that, and that he would have survived the purge. But she had no idea how wrong she was. Luke and Leia were brought to Anakin in his home. He hugs them deeply, and he looks upon their faces. He's conflicted. He should feel anger towards Padme for what she did to him and attempted to do to the galaxy. But in an obscure part of Anakin's mind, none of it mattered. But the Sith inside of him said it did. She had betrayed him, and she should die for what she had done. He didn't know what to do and think. Palpatine said it was up to him what happened to Padme, and he decided he would go and meet with her. He walked into her prison cell, and she rushed to the bars and told Anakin it's good to see him. She thought he had died, but after Anakin's expression didn't change, Padme realized something was wrong. This wasn't Anakin, not how she had remembered him. She asked Anakin what he's done, who told her he did what he had to do. But Padme saw through the act. She knew what she was looking at was a broken man. Anakin looked upon her with hatred, and she wasn't sure why. But she knew she couldn't let Anakin stay this way. She could tell he was conflicted. His eyes spoke of imbalance and prophecy, and knew that she might be the only person who could save the galaxy and the Jedi. And she started by telling Anakin she loved him. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to check out our New Year's sale over at Fantasy Sabers, where you can shop for the best NeoPixel replicas on the market. Don't miss out, and I'll see you all next time.